Good afternoon, everyone. Today is a day of celebration at B3. We are proud to receive two women so engaged in gender equality to a debate and to ring the opening bell in celebration of 20 years of 100 Women in Finance. Today, we are proud hosts of the celebration at Brazil's Exchange after this event journey across the world in previous years. People from around the world are watching us today, and we invite everyone coming into our home to feel welcome. Today's debate will cover diversity, ESG, and the most pressing questions, such as the major challenges raised by the pandemic. We hope that this event will be useful to you. But before beginning, let's please all welcome B3 CEO Gilson Finkelstein.
Thank you, Ana. Boa tarde. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to B3. Amanda, Paula, many friends, Aline, Luisa, many, faces from this long career. Welcome to B3. We are very proud to be the stage for today's Ring the Bell ceremony to celebrate 20 years of 100 Women in Finance. 100 Women in Finance is a global organization that is committed to gender equality in the financial market and which promotes diversity, raising women's visibility and empowering to find their personal path to success. The work developed by this institution connects women at all stages of their careers to a global network of people and resources and empowers them to reach their professional potential at every stage of their careers. This work is very much connected to us here, to our beliefs. Progress in diversity is a priority for us. Our target, linked to that instrument, a sustainability-linked bond issued 2 months ago, is to reach by 2026 at least 35% of our leadership positions held by women. Thank you. Since last year, we have conducted internal work focused to bring the female public into technology. This is a hard and beautiful work. To bring those ladies to careers at B3. Also, with this ambition, since 2020, we have offered more than 300 scholarships for women through partnerships with a range of institutions aimed at developing programming language. Talking about diversity, we have internally 5 discussion groups, one of each on gender equality. In this way, we can understand and incorporate the significant issues of each group into our actions and processes. We are signatories to Women on Board, WOB, an initiative that seeks to engage the board with gender equality discussions, and we also support the Brazilian version of the Board Diversity Program, PEDEC, whose main ambition is to familiarize women with the world of boards of directors. At present, our board at B3 have 3 of our 11 board members are women. As a market infrastructure, we also work towards creating a reference point for environmental, social, and corporate governance best practice in order to develop their practices and investors to find assets that meets this demand. Alongside the sustainability-linked bond that I mentioned before, we also are committed to create a market index by 2024 to measure the performance of companies that are outstanding in diversity practices. B3's own corporate sustainability index, called EASY, have made several changes to its questionnaire over the 16 years of existence regarding diversity and inclusion. We have held many boot camps to assist clients, partners, and listed companies in adopting ESG practice throughout the main, the three areas. Since 2017, we have been ringing the bell for at the Women's International Day in March, in an action that is coordinated by the World Federation of Exchanges throughout the world to bring visibility to the gender equality question in the financial market. It's therefore with great pride that I congratulate 100 Women in Finance for these 20 years dedicated to this issue. It's fundamental that concrete actions such as these be brought to the financial market in Brazil and to the rest of the world. Together, we will seek gender equality in the financial market. This is definitely a cause and a priority for B3. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the event.
Thank you so much, Gilson. It makes me really proud to see how far we've come and how much work we have to do. So this is priority work for us. Thank you so much again. And we'll keep the journey. We are setting the pace, raising the bar, and it's not enough, not enough. Now, from CME Group and co-chair of 100 Women in Finance Brazil Committee, I invite Paula Tia to speak. Please, Paula.
Olá. Obrigada, Ana. Boa tarde a todos. Good afternoon. I'm Paula Thier, and together with me on stage, with Francine and Nicole, we are the volunteers and co-chairs of 100 Women in Finance here in Brazil. It's a great honor to be here today to celebrate the 20th anniversary of such an important global organization with more than 20,000 members across the globe in 28 locations, with a history of empowering women in the financial markets. We could not wish for a better place to celebrate. The Brazilian exchange, B3, is a true symbol of the financial market in Brazil, and we thank you for opening the doors to us here today in person and online from all across the globe. Our journey has been to support the global mission of 100 Women in Finance, which is to achieve 30% of women in leadership roles and investment-making decision positions by 2040, what we call a 30-40 goal. We started the initiative in Brazil in the beginning of the pandemic, and together with senior women that are here today from our working group, we started to implement the three main pillars of 100 Women in Finance, which are education, peer engagement, and social impact, by investing, as Gilson said, in women in all stages of their careers, from young women in college and universities until the most senior practitioners. Today, we celebrate not only the 20 years that passed, but the years we have ahead of us by working together and supporting one another. We really thank you and hope you enjoy the fire chat with our splendid speakers about ESG, diversity, and inclusion in the financial markets. Obrigada. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paula, Nick, and Francine. That is great. We are also proud of you and the work that you are doing here. So now we watch a video sent by the Be Together group, which B3 is proud to head, and which has been carrying out sensational work to foster networking, the exchange of experiences and practices to increase opportunities for women in the financial markets. Let's see.
Be Together é uma iniciativa que reúne mulheres e empresas do mercado financeiro para discutir sobre diversidade, equidade e inclusão.
No começo, a gente tinha uma série de clientes que estavam querendo falar sobre o tema. A gente já viu um mundo muito mais aberto com relação à diversidade e inclusão.
Para mim é rede de apoio, é troca de experiências e mentoria.
E principalmente voltado para o desenvolvimento da carreira feminina.
Então a gente conseguiu ali ser o elo de todo o mercado, colocar várias instituições numa mesma mesa para construir juntos conteúdos e mostrar o que cada uma tem de melhor e o que cada uma pode fazer ainda mais de diferente.
No Be Together a gente faz uma troca muito grande, né? Então a gente troca experiências, boas práticas. Um exemplo foi até o guia que a gente está lançando hoje, né? Esse guia é uma forma da gente levar mais conteúdo e tudo que a gente vem construindo no Be Together ao longo desses 2 anos para demais empresas.
Também pegando as melhores práticas de cada uma dessas instituições e colocando nesse material. Então o relatório certamente vai ajudar muitas pessoas, vai me ajudar, vai te ajudar a aprender mais.
E quando a gente faz essa interação, tem essa troca com o mercado, a gente aprende muita coisa também e leva para dentro de casa práticas que são bastante interessantes.
E grande parte das experiências e vivências que a gente buscou nas temáticas que a gente discutiu ao longo dessa jornada de criação do Be Together me trouxe práticas para lidar ali no dia a dia com diversas situações.
E o resultado dessa disseminação da equidade de gênero, da diversidade, eles certamente contribuíram para uma melhora interna da minha instituição.
Então eu vejo que o Be Together ele tem uma importância não só de criar uma força, né, dessas mulheres do mercado financeiro e de trazer essa pauta de representatividade de gênero para esse mercado, que ainda é um mercado muito masculino, mas também é um lugar da gente discutir o que a gente já está fazendo bem e o que a gente ainda tem de oportunidade de melhorar enquanto segmento juntos.
O Be Together contribuiu para o meu crescimento pessoal, meu crescimento profissional, através de uma troca de experiência saudável, network. Eu conheci pessoas fantásticas, incríveis.
Não tem como você não expandir, não crescer, conhecendo situações que estão fora do seu dia a dia muitas vezes.
Porque aqui a gente tem um ambiente seguro, né, onde todas nós, a gente não tem sobrenome, não somos de uma instituição específica, somos todas juntas, com isso a gente é um time forte, a gente acredita que com essa união a gente pode amplificar, né, o nosso impacto.
Hoje eu me sinto uma pessoa muito mais segura, né, acho que muito em linha da contribuição que eu tive pela rede de apoios que o Be Together me proporcionou.
Eu, pessoalmente, tive que me colocar no lugar do próximo para entender o que aquilo causava, quais os impactos que aquilo causava para ele.
Profissionalmente também estar em contato com outras práticas, com outros pontos de vista sobre o mesmo assunto, também me enriqueceu muito. Então, a gente é muito um grupo que se ajuda, né? Mais até do que um grupo de troca de práticas, a gente é muito uma rede de apoio.
Então ouvir tudo isso e captar essa vulnerabilidade e ver que as minhas dores, os meus receios também foram de executivas, pessoas muito boas, me ajudou muito a tomar a decisão de que eu posso agora.
Então é muito importante que a gente faça esse tipo de ação, de iniciativa, para que a gente de fato consiga cada vez mais ter empresas mais diversas e inclusivas. É uma forma da gente inspirar outras empresas e acabar, né, fazendo com que o nosso mercado seja mais equânime realmente.
Tell me, isn't it wonderful? It's great to see initiatives like this gaining strength, gaining rhythm, and impacting the lives of our women in finance and changing the market. So, shall we start the debate? First of all, I have here with me Amanda Pullinger, CEO of 100Women in Finance. So thank you, Amanda, for coming over here. And before we start, I would like to say that Leda Braga, CEO and founder of Systematica Investment, is joining us remotely to take part of the conversation. Welcome, Amanda. Welcome, Leda. It's an honor to receive both of you and hold this event and chat with you. Thank you so much.
So it's fantastic, and thank you, Anna, for welcoming us here so warmly. It's really fantastic. I'm only sorry that Leda couldn't be here. Leda, they've done an amazing job here at welcoming 100 Women in Finance. Anyway, I want to get into the discussion. We don't have too much time, and there's a lot to talk about. Unfortunately, every panel discussion right now seems to have to start with the C word, COVID. Obviously we've all lived through 18, 19 months now of COVID. And I'm just wondering, for both of you in your respective marketplaces, what do you think are going to be the outcomes of COVID? What do you think are going to be the fundamental challenges post-COVID? But also, and actually almost more importantly, the opportunities that we have. And I'd like you to reflect globally, and then let's come to Brazil. And I'd like to start with Leda, and just get your reflections, Leda, on what do you think are going to be the key points that come out of COVID for the world, and then for Brazil.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Amanda. Obrigada. É prazer participar da sessão. It's a pleasure to take part in the session. So, implications of COVID. Look, I reflect on this quite a bit. On a micro scale, so on a day-to-day basis, COVID has sort of pushed us into a lot of flexibility. So meetings that didn't necessarily need to take place in person, flexibility in the workplace to work from home. And that is a good thing, just pushing the boundaries a bit with a big shake-up. And that is not a bad thing, right? Especially at a time where we're trying to be more efficient, we're trying to, consume less, keep our carbon footprint more under control, so perhaps travel a bit less. So that's a good thing. I would say that on a macro scale, the whole pandemic has justified unprecedented levels of stimulus. So central banks and governments in general providing a lot of stimulus into the economy. And so there's only one word that is in everybody's diary at this point, and it's inflation. Everybody's very worried about inflation. Excessive stimulus is, of course, inflationary. And that becomes a topic for all of us that are in investment management. And so I think, between this day-to-day impact of doing things more flexibly, doing things online that can be done online, and doing in person only those things that really must be done in person, between that and then this global picture of stimulus, I think that those are the two pictures. And when it comes to Brazil specifically, I'm actually pretty optimistic. First of all, the B3 is an absolute global force for all of us that work in the industry. It's as an organization, as a participant in the trading that goes on in B3, it makes me very proud to be Brazilian whenever I look at the activities there. But if you think about this picture of stimulus typically gets directed towards infrastructure spend. And infrastructure spend favors economies, large manufacturing economies like Brazil, like China. And so I think there are positive implications for Brazil as well. Brazil is, of course, a big commodities exporter. And so I do think that, it's not a 1 year cycle. It's more like a 5 to 10 year cycle. But I am optimistic about the impact of this whole shake-up.
So Leda's she's an optimist here, largely. Anna, from your perspective, as you think about things globally and also here at B3?
I'll tackle this question with a slightly different approach. I think it's too soon to assess the actual impact of COVID in our lives. It's really too soon to call. We don't know how deep, how far, and how fast it will hit us. But I perceive and I sense that, first of all, what we are feeling now are intensified trends that we felt before. For instance, demands of our society that are more, that are stronger right now. So we are dealing with a debate in inequality, for instance. It has been there before, now it's been intensified. So there were trends that were there before, but now they hit us right on the face when we have to deal with that. And I feel also that we're going to struggle and face a power shift from company to individuals, from government to society. So new demands will come for companies and individuals as well. So companies probably will have to engage and relate to society in a different way. Probably we're going to see, well, at least this is what I think and feel, a rise in stakeholder capitalism. So companies are going to be asked to look in different directions rather than just financial aspect of its delivery to society. We'll have to look the way that we impact society, the people that we work with, the environment, the governance that we are holding. So it's going to be, we're going to feel it more in the companies. And when talking about individuals, we are feeling the great resignation. All companies have been facing that. So individuals are being questioned and they are asking themselves, am I doing the right thing? And am I building a society that's fair to everybody? What is my role into that? So you're seeing people leaving their jobs, building other careers, trying to do different things. But it can also go in a very opposite direction. So I'm not sure which way we're going to go. Is everybody going to change and move to the country and create a new society? Or everybody's going to go to the roaring 20s again? I'm not so sure. So we gotta feel that again. And well, it's going to be wild. So we must fasten our seatbelts.
I think one of the things that's been amazing to me about COVID is how binary people's reactions have been. I think you have people who've kind of said, and this is the camp I'm in, who's kind of like, look, I realize that things have changed, that things are going to change, but actually I want to take advantage of the opportunities that we have out of COVID. And certainly for 100 Women, we've had a global footprint for a while, but it's only in the last 19 months that we've really seen our members around the world really feel like they're part of a global community. And that's because now, you know, if you're sitting in New York, you can watch what we're doing here in Brazil today. You don't necessarily have to be physically here. Although, as we all know, we're all yearning for in-person, which is why it's so nice to see everybody here in person, albeit social distance and wearing masks and all the things we're supposed to be doing. So I do think that there are, you know, I think the jury is out to some extent, but I personally feel like the positives out this, if we take hold of them, will be greater than the negatives. And that's a good segue into the other trend, the other topic that we talk about all the time at 100 Women, and that is ESG. So COP26 happened recently in Glasgow. Governments around the world are talking about this topic. So I'm now curious around how the topic of ESG is changing, in the case of Anna, your business, what your clients are asking for, and then in the case of Leda, how you're thinking about investing and how it's changing the way you're thinking about investing. So Leda, I'm going to come to you first. How is ESG changing your perspective on how you think about investing?
Yeah, it is a constant stream of thought and consideration now. I like to quote Mark Carney. He says that from now on, no investment decision can be made without sustainability. And taking on from what Anna was saying, I think the sense of community that the pandemic has created has only reinforced that, right? A sense of community, a sense of I wear a mask to help protect you, and I take a vaccine the fastest way possible to protect society. And so this whole thing, the pandemic has an undertone of community values and commitment to society in general. And so that reinforces it. So in practice, how does that manifest itself into our job. I mean, no conversation goes on with a client, with an investor, without touching on ESG. Investors want to know what we're doing about ESG considerations in our investment process. They want to know what we are doing about ESG at a corporate level while accompanying ourselves. And all these things really matter now. And so, the challenge is right there. And I do think that while the pandemic was a bit of a test of the ability of different societies in different countries to come together to address a common challenge. So the pandemic was a bit of a trial for that. I think sustainability and climate change, they are the real thing. We need to come together to sort it out. And, politics is very divisive at the moment, right? But look, the asset management industry is not, right? And I always say that. I say to people, look, if you're really concerned about ESG and about sustainability, what do? Do you go on a march? Do you donate to a charity that addresses climate change? Or do you perhaps think about investment management? And I say to people, look, you ought to think about investment management because the professional asset management industry has about $100 trillion in its charge, in its care. And if that money decides that it's going to promote sustainable enterprises, you better believe no CEO is going to ignore it. And so the power of our industry, the power of the asset management industry, the power of the finance industry is phenomenal in addressing this. And it can afford to be a lot less political than governments, huh? And so, in answer to your question, it's changed the way we do our job on a constant basis now. It's a constant consideration. And I do look at our industry as one of the solutions to the problem. I really do.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I have a niece in the UK who's 16, and she's an environmentalist, and she goes and buys her clothes secondhand, and she goes on these marches, whatever. And I use Leda Braga as an example to her of a woman who can truly make a difference in the world because of the capital that she can put to play, and really challenging and demystifying our industry to the next generation. There's a lot about ESG that can be a hook for young women coming into our industry. I'm already seeing it with female fund managers, most of whom are setting up their new funds with some kind of ESG filter. So I do think it's a really interesting moment, not just to greenwash, as everybody talks about, but to truly understand that we are in an industry that has the power to create change, the power to demand change in companies. Otherwise, they won't be funded. So I think it's a really interesting moment. So I'm just curious, in terms of your own clients, what are you seeing in terms of ESG? How is it changing the way they run their businesses? And then at B3, how are you thinking kind of internally around ESG?
Well, that's a great question. We approach the ESG subject here at B3 with two different ways. First of all, we are a company, so we face the same dilemma that our client faces. So we have to have an ESG agenda. We have to display information, and this is pretty important, and I'm going to relate to that point because it talks to Leda point of view as investor. So what investors and individuals and societies are demanding from us, from our clients and from us, is that we have an ESG agenda that's transparent to the market, that has goals, specific goals that has to be attainable, and we have to tackle the material issues of our industry. So what do I see in our clients? That they are looking for ways to engage and to evolve in their ESG journey. One of the ways that they do that is applying to indices such as our EASY, the sustainability enterprise, the indices that we have, that is a broad index that evaluate the way that company performs in the ESG factors. So they come to us, they apply to the indices. They have a very clear perspective on what they are doing, how they are behaving, comparing to their peers. So after this assessment, they can engage and create an ESG agenda. So this is one way that we are offering products and services to them. And inside the company, that's important to say as well, we have lots of progress in the ESG practices, including diversity, of course. It is a priority to B3. So one practice that we have here, that is a corporate goal to achieve some of ESG practices, to take this to a new level. So for instance, in diversity, we have goals, specific goals to have women in leadership, to have Black people hired and trained and developed and promoted, and people with disabilities as well. If we do not reach these targets and this goal, our bonuses are going to be affected. So this is one way that companies tackle this question. And in the end of the day, the indices that we have, the SLB bonds that are registered and identified here in our exchange, serve investors such as Leda, because we are bringing transparency and benchmarks to the table. So investors can make better decisions tackling ESG investments.
So one of the things, and I love the fact that you brought up diversity as part of this, because it is ESG, and a lot of the conversation is about the E. And I think that's partly because, for governments anyway, they can kind of get their hands around the environmental piece and produce policies, because the environment is not a person. And so to some extent, you don't have to change people's perception, well, maybe a little bit, but you don't have to change people's perceptions of other human beings, which is where the S and the G become much more difficult. So I love the fact that you raised the whole issue of that the S and the G are equally important, because I was speaking at a conference in Saudi Arabia a month ago, and the topic was investing in humanity, and it was all around climate change. And I said on the stage, I'd love to be able to change that phrase from investing in humanity to investing through humanity, and excluding 50% of the population in coming up with investment solutions, with coming up with solutions around big topics in the world, isn't going to produce the best results. I'm not saying that women are necessarily better than men at solving problems, but we do need to be included, as do others from different backgrounds, included in the solutions to these situations. So actually it's a good segue into the final piece of our conversation, which is about diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's obviously a topic that has also been on the agenda for many parts of the world over the last 18 months or so. And I love that. I love when the conversation is actually being held at the highest levels. I love when men are talking about diversity. We need men to really get behind this for it to be successful. So here we sit as an industry, and many things have progressed, but certainly when it comes to the investment side of the business, Aleida Braga is still a rare superstar in our industry. And as an organization, we think we want to see more women in these roles. So I'm curious, I'll start with Aleida again. Aleida, you've worked with us for a number of years now. I'm curious, what do you think we as an industry, and then 100 Women as an organization, needs to be doing more of in order to attract and then ensure that women stick at the journey that is to portfolio management?
Look, Amanda, we've known each other for a while now. We've had discussions about a number of very important initiatives that 100 Women in Finance has spurred or supported, and they span education, they span support for mathematics and science to try to divulge the power of these skills for a career. And these are very good things. At the moment, I mean, if you ask me this question today, I've got to say that I think I detect that in young people now, the sustainability issue has hit them. They've understood it and they've really taken it to heart. You were talking about some relative of yours that only shops in charity shops. I also know a couple of young people close to me that also, are very conscious of not being wasteful, of recycling, of looking after the world, looking after the environment. And so, my answer today to that question is, let us try to show the younger generations that careers in finance, financial workers are not evil. We are honest, hardworking, mission-oriented people, and because we command such a large amount of the capital pools of the world, we can really make a difference. So if you ask me, what can 100 Women in Finance do to engage more and engage with future generations? But my current answer is, let's try to look at this sustainability engagement aspect of the financial industry. So, if you're looking at a career in finance, you may be looking at a career in finance because you want to engage in change in the world. And therefore, deploying finance, connecting the world through finance, capital, investment, that is what's going to turn the world into a sustainable place.
Yeah, it is so true. I mean, I think we say it a lot at 100 Women, you can't be what you can't see. And you're not going to come into this industry unless you actually understand what we're for. And what we can achieve, and I think there's a lot of work that we can be doing with other organizations, particularly around pre-career young women. The video that we saw, inspiring those girls to look at this industry in a more positive way, to see role models, to see people like them in these roles, I think is really a fantastic way to go. So, Anna, anything to add on the diversity front in terms of what you're doing internally that's worked?
Well, I think that we have a few practices that are proven to be good. And the first one is to reckon the problem. We have to recognize that there is a problem, there is an inequality problem, and once you recognize that, you can tackle the problem. As simple as that. So first of all is recognize, and then take intention to act. We here have discussion groups. We decided to work in 5 different areas regarding diversity. So we have our gender, race and ethnicity, disability, LGBTQ and plus, and generation groups that discuss the needs and wants of the minorities, or the minorities group, if we can say like that. And they decide and put their pains and the solutions that they want to create within the organization. And then we present it to the board. So we have the resources and the wills to do and take action into that. We have launched through those kind of discussion groups, initiatives and programs that aiming to hire and train and engage diversity here, and it's working quite a lot. So we're doing it in racial and ethnicity, and also in people with disability, where we create specific programs that are designed so they can perform better. So there are no excuses for diversity. So this kind of thing works a lot. And we like to say, and you said, people cannot be what they don't see. We believe in representation in every level, from the interns to the board level. So we are signatory of Women on Board. We have 3 women, amazing women, by the way, here in our board. And we are also holding a program that develops women for boards. And actually boards outside of B3 world, that's called PEDEC, and we do it with the IFC, WCD, Spencer Stewart, and also with the BGC. So this kind of initiative, they change the needle. Actually, we're moving forward in the diversity in B3 and abroad as well. And I think that at the end, we also have a public display of commitment. And this is the SLB that we issued a few months ago. And why it matters so much? Because it's public. And if we don't get there, we are going to face a financial liability. So that's a very important vector of pressure over here. So I think that the whole group of things works and lead us through, and we're going to get there.
So another thing that I say often is that I think one of the issues that we don't talk about enough as an industry. Oh, sorry, Leda, were you going to say something?
I was going to say that the corporate sustainability index, that is fantastic. We're just so glad about that. This is fantastic. It's the kind of thing that we need in the industry to move sustainability forward as well. Anyway, yeah.
No, fantastic. That's a great endorsement from Leda.
Thank you, Leda.
One of the things we don't talk about enough in the industry is what it feels like to be the only one. And for many of the women in this room, we've either been the only woman in the room, the only woman in our role, or maybe even the only woman in our organization. That's why 100 Women was created 20 years ago. 3 women who were the only women at the hedge funds that they worked at got together, not to talk about men, but to actually, and complain about men, but actually to really share experiences. Sometimes you just need someone who gets you, right? Where you don't need to say, oh, this happened to me, and they're kind of looking at you like you're strange. And that's what 100 Women is about in our peer engagement piece. It's finding your people. It's helping you find your people in the industry. And I truly think that that's part of how we're going to retain women in the industry, regardless of whether they have a family or not, because I do believe that if you find others who are like you, who've gone through the same experiences and succeeded, then you can see it's possible. And so we are big believers in you all finding your people at whatever stage of the career that you're at. Well, the time has come to an end. It's been fantastic chatting in this hybrid format. I wish that Leda was here in person, but you know what? Hey, one of the benefits of COVID is we could still do this anyway and include Leda, which is fantastic. So, thank you to Leda. Thank you, Anna, for hosting us. And I believe we are now going to show a 100 Women video in conclusion. Thank you, everybody.
Happy 20th anniversary, 100 Women in Finance.
Happy 20th anniversary.
Happy 20th anniversary.
Happy 20th anniversary.
100 Women in Finance.
100 Women in Finance.
Happy 20th anniversary, 100 Women in Finance.
Feliz 20º aniversário, 100 Women in Finance.
Parabéns, 100 Women in Finance, pelo aniversário de 20 anos.
Happy 20th anniversary, 100 Women in Finance.
Happy 20th anniversary, 100 Women in Finance.
Happy 20th anniversary, 100 Women in Finance.
Parabéns, 100 Women in Finance, pelo aniversário de 20 anos.
Happy 20th anniversary, 100 Women in Finance.
Happy 20th anniversary to 100 Women in Finance.
Happy 20th anniversary, 100 Women in Finance.
Congratulations to 100 Women in Finance on your 20th anniversary.
Feliz 20º aniversário a 100 Women in Finance.
Feliz 20º aniversario, 100 Women in Finance. From Toronto, happy 20th anniversary to 100 Women in Finance.
So now, coming to a closure, before ringing the bell, I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page about what does it mean to ring a bell here. Although we all work in finance, it's important to be sure that we are on the same page. But ringing a bell means that we are opening or closing the negotiation of that day in an exchange, but it's also used to celebrate great events such as this one, such as the 20-year anniversary of 100 Women in Finance. So we make sure that we ring the bell in very special occasions such as this. So as well as Amanda, who is here with me, and Leda, who's taking part virtually, I also invite the following people to ring the bell with us. The representatives of Be Together, who were able to be here today. Please join me. Daniel Zaka, please come. Also, the B3 Sustainability Associate Director, Cesar Sanchez, who is my partner in crime in ESG practices. Please, Cesar. Also, the member of B3 HR area, Rebecca, Manu, Aninha, please come here. Those ladies, they are doing an amazing job here in diversity and inclusion. Please come here with me, join me, don't let me be alone here. And also Paula, Nikki, Francine, please come here. So everybody here, close together. Come here. I'm gonna show you how it works. Please, everybody here, you're here in the center. Amanda, please. Here is the button. We are gonna do a countdown and we have to put lots of energy into that. So we have more women in our financial market. The harder we hit the button, more ladies will be in the financial market. So make sure we do it properly. We're gonna do a countdown from 5 to 0 and we are gonna ring the bell. Are you with me here? Okay, let's do it. So, let's go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Parabéns, viu? Que legal esse